instruction, golf news, equipment, travel, interviews, course profiles, and more. Your weekly fix of all things golf is about to begin. It's the Flagstick Podcast with your hosts, Jeff Botter and Scott McLeod. Welcome, yes, indeed, to another Flagstick Podcast. I am your host, or one of them, Jeff Botter, and with me, as always, is my good friend and co-host, Scott McLeod. And the podcast is sponsored by TaylorMade with Stealth. They have pushed past the limits of titanium and introduced the world to the carbon wood age. So how far are they willing to take it? Way past far and into forgiveness. Introducing the all-new Stealth 2 Plus, combining elements of speed and forgiveness to unlock forgiveness. Visit TaylorMadeGolf.ca to learn more. All right, jumping right off the top, reminding you, as always, to check us out on social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. Subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, Audible, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. And as always, we really encourage you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. All of our podcasts are up there. All of the extra stuff we do are up there. Like us, click the notification bell. Make sure you never miss a single episode. The content is crazy up there, and the contest is going. The contest is happening. So, and we'll remind you a little bit more about the contest a little later on. Scotty Mac.
Yeah, welcome back to the Flagstick Podcast.
Yeah, I know.
It's been a minute.
It's crazy. It's a lot's happened since the last podcast.
Oh yeah,
a lot of good stuff has happened since the last podcast. What hasn't happened, unfortunately, is I still haven't played a round of golf. I'm trying. I
played a tournament since then. I played, I'm not saying I played a lot of golf. I'm just saying there's been some, at least.
I am feeling the effects of my age for whatever reason.
Every week. This
but it is like honest to God. Like, I mean,
Grandpa.
I feel like it. I really feel like it. My shoulder finally starts feeling better, and then I've got something going on with my knee, and then my ankle, and then it's like, holy crap! Can I just get healthy? I feel like an NHL player. I try to play through it, but I can't.
There's lots of people out there playing with upper body and lower body injuries, so you just play. I mean,
I know, but I can't swing. I literally cannot swing a golf ball. I mean, I've done that. I've done the putting and the chipping thing. I mean, that's about as far as I've gotten. But to take a full swing right now, it's like, oh, it'll come indeed. It'll come indeed. Well, let's get right into it, Scott, because we talk all the time, so we can save the small talk for off the air. Sure. We've got a lot to get to because it has been a while since the last one. We're going to catch up on some of the regional golf news in the front nine. There's a lot of emotions that have crept up in the last week all throughout Canada with the results of the Canadian Open. We've got some big pro news. We've got some GM news, and Kevin and Jake Hamer back.
Yes, sir.
We've got some golf instruction on the lesson tee with Kevin and Jake Hamer in the back nine. But let's get to the front nine. Presented by Metcalf Golf Club, a natural setting, a pleasant challenge. The golf season is, of course, now here, so don't wait to save on your golf this season. Buy a membership, join a league, purchase some game packs, and be ready to hit the first tee with some extra money in your pocket. Visit metcalfgolf.com to shop now. All right.
Yes, sir. Let's
get at it. Let's get at the front nine. I know. I'm looking at the list going, okay, we try to avoid these shopping lists of things to discuss, but when the problem is when you miss a week too, then you miss a whole week of stuff to talk about, and then more stuff happens, and of course now we're into US Open week too, so now it's just oh my gosh, here we go.
There's so much. And I mean, if people follow us on our Twitter channel, I mean, there's just so much going on. I mean, I think yesterday, and it is today, I was tracking tournaments and Canadian players in England, Victoria, Calgary, like in Pennsylvania. Where else? I mean, there were just all sorts of different ones going on. And hey, no disrespect to, our colleagues in media that are obviously focused on what they focus on. But with so many Canadians playing all over the place, we're trying to bring that news to everyone, really. And it's not just focused on the top players on the LPGA and PGA Tour, which is fabulous, and it's great to have the coverage and stuff there. But there's so many stories going on from a local, regional level to a national level. But if people really want to get a good feel for it and just get a few nuggets and updates and stuff like that, definitely follow us on our Twitter channel.
Now, you had the opportunity, Scott, recently to, I guess, call it, you were a guest speaker or
I was
a lecturist or
I don't know what you want to call
a keynote.
I'll tell you what.
Keynote.
A keynote speaker on Monday at Cataraqui.
Okay.
And when a major champion asks you to be the speaker, what do you say? You say yes.
I'll think about it.
Yeah, exactly. So Sandra Post, for people that are maybe not aware, which they should be if there's any if they have any interest in Canadian golf history, but LPGA Rookie of the Year, won a major back in 1968, also won what became the Chevron Championship. Back then was the Dinah Shore. She won that back-to-back in 78, 79, won 8 LPGA Tour events. She's part of the Stanley Thompson Society, which obviously is a group of very interested people who appreciate the architecture of Stanley Thompson, famous Canadian architect. A lot of them are members at golf courses that were designed by Stanley Thompson, but they have a series where they go around and play golf courses around the country, and part of it is having a guest speaker. And Sandra reached out through some other connections, and I've talked to Sandra a bit before over different things. Lovely lady, and she asked me if I could talk a little bit, and I ended up talking a little bit about the history of golf in Kingston for about a half an hour. Great crowd there. Really enjoyed that. And thank you to Sandra for inviting me, and they gave me a nice little Stanley Thompson book afterwards, and it was a good time. And I mean, just sitting and chatting with her, we'll get to the Canadian Open stuff in a little bit, but I saw her on the Sunday of the Canadian Open, and then obviously we spent a lot of time with her on the Monday, and we were talking about what that meant for her and her observations on it. And she was just totally delighted, and obviously has a different perspective than most other people would about big professional wins for Canada, but super excited to see that. So thanks to them for having me up.
Beautiful. Some other stuff, obviously, that's gone on. The PGA of Ottawa had the Spring Open, took place on the Flagstick.com PGA of Ottawa Tour, and different format this year. You tipped it up.
I did. Not successfully.
You wandered 18 holes of golf, and
I did.
And even though plus was good, plus wasn't good enough, Scott.
No, but you know what? It was a good day. I think it was a well-received format. Had a great attendance. Over 60 players were out, which is a large percentage of the zone. 8 women, which is fantastic. That's the most ever for a zone event. Tara McEnroy from Ottawa Hunt took the title in the women's division. Dan McNeely won in the regular division, and Pasquale Mongili, who played with me, Pasquale actually got his first pro win, so he won the senior division, and it was a lot of fun. In fact, actually, there's talk of more events within the zone being played in that format. It was a little bit more interesting because you could be a little bit more aggressive and try for birdies or eagles or whatever, knowing that penalty would be 0. It wasn't going to be a 10 on the board for on a scorecard or things like that. And just the fact that it got the attendance out there for the event, and that was great. So next up is the Summer Open, and then the Pro will follow after that.
Now, where's the Summer? The Summer Open is at
Summer's at Whitetail.
Oh, that'll be a good track.
Yeah, and the Pro is at the Meadows this year.
Very nice. Very nice. Now the Play Junior Golf Tour is in full swing right now. Obviously, we're very proud of our association with Chris Feldkamp and his tour that he's worked very hard to build up. That now they're playing the season-long race to the Flagstick.com Cup. We're
Very
very excited
appreciative.
about that. And you had a chance, given that one of the events was down in Amherst. We can,
Yeah.
unfortunately, sponsor or no sponsor, we can't get to all the events because
No.
there's me and there's Scott. Joe's retired now.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we don't have Joe to wander around tournaments for us anymore either. So we're spread a little thin.
Yeah.
Spread a little thin.
Well,
It's like having a teaspoon of peanut butter for 3 pieces of toast. We
yeah.
spread it thin.
Yeah, and I mentioned that to someone the other day. It's hard to be in 3 places at once, but I did have a chance to drop into the Play Junior Golf Tour event at Amherst. 40 plus kids there. Knew a bunch of the kids, but got to meet more of them, which is part of the fun as well.
Yeah.
And it's less kind of about the winners, although there were some good scores and things on the day. But it's just to see how these kids are growing up around golf and what they're getting out of it. And, they're so encouraged by, playing in these events. And I mean, kids are getting excited because, this one kid was practically dancing because he broke 100 for the first time, which was just fabulous to see. And, the one thing that they do is they give out a belt. Ganshev Old sponsors a belt for long drive of the
Oh, nice.
or drive of the day, not long drive of the day. And it went to a girl, I think, who was about 6 years old, which was really wild to see. And she could barely hold the thing up. But it was so cute. And it just reminded me so much of, why these events are so important. And the other side as well, I would say, there's a lot of juniors. There should be more juniors playing in these events.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of juniors go and they put a lot of focus on playing, provincial events and so forth. But this is where they can learn how to win and develop. And I think they forget that this tour and the predecessor tour to it, the St. Lawrence Junior Tour, which was part of it that they merged in about 10 years ago, produced LPGA and PGA Tour players. And so going out there and playing is super important. Encouraged as well to see the parents. They're very supportive.
Yeah.
Really some good stuff out there. Families. It was just a good day. I'm looking forward to the next one as well. I think I'm going to drop into the landings for the next one.
Okay.
Brad Smith was on site at the one at Amherst. Him and Tyler Reed got to help out them a little bit with some takedown and stuff like that. But professionally run, just fun. Just it sort of reignites your spirit of watching golf and kind of reminding you of playing junior golf yourself.
Yeah.
So for me, you know what, we could go and cover all the PGA Tour events in the world, but I know in the end, those things, those moments are probably the ones that are going to mean the most.
Cool. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Now, on the women's side of things, something new in Eastern
Hmm.
Ontario this
Yeah.
year, a new initiative that by Golf Ontario,
Yeah.
and it's being run by Katie Walker as a PGA of Canada
Yep.
professional,
Remember? Yep.
is the women's Tri Golf Series. And
Yeah.
there's a number of different venues that are hosting one of these women's Tri Golf Series, and such a great initiative because for whatever reason, it's not just women, but for whatever reason, women can somewhat find the game, getting into the game for the first time, kind of intimidating,
Yeah. Daunting for sure.
and overwhelming. And really, it
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't be. And
No.
something like this kind of gives them that opportunity to no pressure situation, going out,
Yep.
experiencing it, getting used to it.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding it a little more. So when they do go to the golf course, they don't feel intimidated, even though
Right.
God's honest truth here. I've played golf behind, in front of, and with a lot of different women who are new to the game.
Yeah.
Sorry, women, but there's a lot of men out there that could probably use something like this too.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
Don't
And
need to be embarrassed, believe me.
no. And really, it's just a way to welcome players to the game. We sort of forget. I mean, I keep saying, and I talk to a number of people and just saying, we forget what we didn't know before we knew it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. So we can't put ourselves in those shoes because if you've been around golf for a long time. So Golf Ontario is doing this across the province. Obviously, Katie's taken up the lead role here as far as doing the instructing. They've ran a couple of events already. They've got 4 more coming up at Canadian, Anderson, Links, Cloverdale, and Renfrew. You can go on to flagstick.com. We've got actually all the dates that are on there, but they're low cost. They include a little, a beverage afterwards. There's 9 holes of play. They play like a scramble format. everything's really around social and fun.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right, it's not designed to be technical. It's designed just to make people feel comfortable, maybe answer the questions that they have that they're afraid to ask.
Right.
And I think that's the hard part with all beginning golfers, is that they think there are dumb questions and they
Yeah.
don't want to ask them. So as a result of it, they stay intimidated. And I think it's series like this and lessons like this and other ones in clinics that are happening at golf courses around the region that are making the difference. So if people want more information on the Women's Try Golf Series, you can obviously go to the Golf Ontario website, but we have a full post with all the dates and links to register on flagstick.com as well.
Beautiful. Now, just quickly, there will be part of the series. They're going to be held at the Canadian Golf and Country Club, Anderson Links Golf and Country Club, Cloverdale Golf Links, and Renfrew Golf Club are the 4 locations. The dates, like you said, you can go to flagstick.com and get the dates. But just so you have an idea where those locations are, so that you know that there is something in your area, whether it's east, west, north, south of the region. Traveling back to Cataraqui, sorry, we talked about that off the top of the show there, Scott, but traveling back to Cataraqui, the women's Eastern Provinces and Ontario women's match play is taking place at Canada. Now, this has a long history. This
almost
event,
100
years.
Long history. Almost 100 years, yeah.
Actually, some amazing champions have come out of this, and some champions that we well know.
Yeah, exactly. LPGA Tour winners.
Yes.
And actually, it was funny because being there with Sandra, she didn't win this because she obviously turned pro pretty early, but she did play in it very early on. And some of her first memories of golf in Eastern Ontario are coming down to play this event when she was, a young teen or preteen. But it's combined now with Eastern Provinces with the Ontario Women's Match Play, the Golf Ontario one. So as a result, the field is a pretty spectacular. Actually, I was just going through and looking at the collegiate affiliations. Unbelievable as far as the number of college players or ex-college players. Judith Carinis, who won the U.S. Senior Women's Amateurs in the field. It should be a good event. They start with a field day. They have a separate field day on Saturday, and then the players that are registered for the match play, I think there's like 39 of them. Then their scores will determine if there's top 16 that they go to match play, and it finishes up on Monday. So I'll be there for that, I think, for the final on Monday, and I'll probably go check out some of the early parts of the qualifying as well, just to catch up with a number of players. It's not normal to obviously be able to catch up with so many of the players that we talk about all the time and that we share news and information on, that play everywhere, in college, from Indiana to Texas to California to other parts of Canada and things like that as well. So good luck to all the players there, and looking forward to seeing.
You're not going to caddy for anybody this year?
I had a couple. I was
going to say, because you have looped at this before.
I have, and I actually had a couple of people ask me. Don't quite have the time to do that, but who knows? I might get sucked into it tomorrow. Who knows?
Nice.
We'll see. So yeah, but should be good. Should be good to watch, and I know they encourage spectators to come out and watch that as well. And if you want to see some of the top golfers in the country, they're definitely there.
Okay, cool. Now before we jump to break, we just want to bring you up to speed a little bit on the Flagstick Shootout, which we announced a couple of episodes ago, a few weeks ago, that the event was coming back, and yada yada, 72 player field. We're doing our best to get all of the applications selected and the field. We've announced about 30, I think, of the players that are going to be participating in the tournament for sure. We're just in the process of finalizing the rest of the list. We do encourage anybody that wants to participate. You do not have to be a scratch golfer to play.
No, and I think some people are intimidated. I had a guy who was like a 5. He's like, will I get in the field? And I'm like, apply.
Yeah, we do encourage that. Like it really, even I think I've accepted somebody who's an 8. Like it really doesn't matter. That part of it is not really relevant. I mean, like we said before, if you're a 22 handicap, it's not that we don't want you in the field. It's not that we
No,
wouldn't put you in the field.
we're
just
just
don't
warning
know.
you that you might not compete.
Yeah, it's a 22 handicap. You probably don't normally play golf courses at 67, 68, 6,900 yards and set up the way the course is going to be set up. It's not going to be set up hugely difficult.
Well,
but
no,
Smuggler's Glen is already a difficult golf course as it is, no matter what yardage you set it up from. You're going to be playing the back tees for the most part, a bit of a hybrid mix like we do for the Flagstick Open, but it's going to be a challenging day. If you think that you want to engage in that challenge, then by all means apply.
Sure.
I'm not saying that I'm not. There's a couple of players on the list right now that are higher handicaps that I haven't accepted in yet, but I may accept them in yet. They applied, and they understand, so they clearly want, and sometimes that's good for somebody. And there's a lot of 15 handicaps that play the back tees too.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like there's guys, just because you're a 15 handicap doesn't mean you're a forward tee golfer. Like it's so apply. And I don't even want to make it sound like it's apply, you're applying for a job. Like register, get on the list so we can have a look and accept you into this. Well, we've got we're going to release a couple more names early next week. And then hopefully we're going to release the rest of the field by the end of the week is my goal. Whatever number of players we end up putting in. It might not be 72. It might be 48. It might be 52. It just depends. So
I was at the Kingston City Men's Championship last week, in which congratulations to Jamal Moussaoui, who won his fourth one. He was one of the players I actually talked to about playing in the shootout. I had 4 or 5 players there that mentioned to me that they were interested. A couple had conflicts with club championships, things like that, but hopefully we see some of those guys show up as well.
Well, we want to get this event back off the ground. I mean, we had it, we stopped it, we're bringing it back. It's a great event. It really is a great event. There's great venue, great little registration package provided to us by Puma Golf Canada, and we're really excited about what we're building. But it's going to take some time to build it up. The Flagstick Open is a lot older in succession than the Flagstick Shootout is, and it has a very strong reputation. It sells out quickly every year. We want to get there with the Flagstick Open and obviously with the 2-ball in the fall. So
we recognize it's been 8 years since the shootout happened. So, again, it's just getting people re-familiar with it and getting back down there. But if you, like Jeff said, get your application in.
Now, one other thing, next week, you mentioned it. We're going to have an interview with the operator of the long drive event to be held down in Belleville next month. That is going to feature 4 past world champions.
Yeah, they've got a stacked field for Endless Summer. So did an interview with Jody Jenkins yesterday that we can run next week. And they announced a couple of the most recent men's world champions are in the field. I won't reveal that, although people can obviously Google that and figure it out. But just think Martin Borgmeyer and Kyle Berkshire, for example, teeing it up, being at Trillium Wood in Belleville. So fun. It's going to be a cool scene, and I won't give it all away as far as the details and everything, but tune in next week and you can see the interview with Jody.
Yeah, it's funny, because the last time I was at Trillium Wood for a long drive competition, you hit one, I think it was 365.
I don't know. We were actually talking about that a little bit. It's been like 30 years since they had. Yeah, they had 30 years since they had a long drive event there. So
crazy.
It's crazy, but this is definitely a way different scale than what those events back in the day, which were just regional qualifiers. These are some of the best hitters in the world. So cool stuff.
Okay, we're going to take a break. When we come back from break, right off the top, we're going to head out to the lesson tee with Kevin and Jake Kim. Really excited to have them back doing some instruction on the lesson tee with us on the podcast this summer. So we're going to go there right away, and then we're going to jump right into the back nine and talk about the RBC Canadian Open. We're going to talk a little bit of US Open because that's happening right now, among other things. And but stay with us. We will be right back here on the Flagstick podcast with Jeff Botter and Scott McLeod.
That's far.
So much forgiveness. Wait, did you say forgiveness like far or forgiveness like forgiveness? Forgiveness. Forgiveness. Forgiveness.
I'm hearing far.
Forgiveness. Like forgiveness. Forgiveness? Forgiveness.
I'm still hearing far, but whatever.
Introducing Stealth 2 with more carbon for more forgiveness.
Forgiveness. Just hit it.
All right. Well, welcome back to the Flagstick podcast, and we're gonna jump right out to the lesson tee. Happy to have Kevin and Jay Haim back with us. We're gonna jump out to the lesson tee presented by that very Kevin Haim Golf School. It's always the right time to play better golf, whether you need private lessons, better short game, some putting help, or even a custom club fitting. Visit kevinhaim.com and remember that better golf is a lot more fun, and indeed it is. So let's jump out to the lesson tee and see what Kevin and Jake Haim have for us this week.
Happy Tip Tuesday, golfers. Okay, Jake, we're out on the lesson tee today, and we're working with what I think is the toughest club for a lot of people, the longest fairway wood, 3-wood. I got a lot of questions about this, so let's talk about the keys to how to hit it. I would start off, first of all, with saying make sure you do have enough loft. I mean, this golf club isn't teed up like your driver, and it's not very lofted, so you've got to make sure you have a golf club that gives you an 11 or 12 degree launch angle. So just because it says 4 or 5 here, if it's a 3-wood length and it gives you the right parameters of ball flight, I wouldn't just look for that 3 all the time, would be the first advice I'd give.
Yeah, I think you need to find the wood with the right amount of loft and length to maximize it for you, and that could be unique for different people. So it's a great starting point.
Okay, I think setup's a big deal too. So bring us through checkpoints for a 3-wood setup. What do we want to do with ball position, posture, distance from ball? Let's see it.
Yeah, so first things first, let's talk ball position because it's so important to manage your low point with a 3-wood. So we want the ball in the correct spot.
Yeah.
If you think about a driver, we want that ball in line with our lead foot, mostly at our lead heel to help hit up on the ball.
Yeah.
And with an iron, we usually have that ball about 3 inches off of that foot at my lead ear to encourage me to hit slightly down on it. So with a 3-wood, I'm going to split the difference. I'm going to have it about 1 inch to 1.5 inches behind my lead foot so that I'm a little more shallow at impact by the time I get there. So that would be change number 1 I would make.
Yeah, awesome. Like it.
Number 2 is I'm going to widen my stance slightly from my irons so I have a little more stability for the, wider golf swing, but I'm not going to do as much of a driver. It's not going to be quite as exaggerated.
Yeah, if we look at you here, you're just outside your shoulders. Now you can still rotate. It's a stable stance. If you get too wide, you won't have enough rotation, won't get up to the golf ball. And if you're too narrow, it might be sloppy, right?
And I think the last thing I would say is I don't want to feel like I'm trying to reach to add a bunch of stability and power. I want myself to be the same distance from my golf club that I am from an iron. Yeah. And then I'm going to be farther from the ball because the club is doing it for me. But the more I tend to reach and get too wide, which is very common what we see with 3-woods, it'll change the shape of my golf swing and make it really difficult to get back to that golf ball.
Yeah, it gets the club around behind you a lot of times really flat.
Certainly.
And people will either swing and top it or thin a 3-wood, or they'll come over the top and hit down on it, take a divot and hit a big cut. So
Totally.
Both things are bad. So that iron distance from ball, little wider stance, ball a little forward. Then what about the golf swing itself?
Well, so with a 3-wood in particular, I want to try to let the club do the work. Like you said, if you have a 3-wood that hits the ball with the intended launch angles and stuff, I don't want to try to artificially create those. So I'm going to make sure I have a nice wide and low takeaway so it feels like I'm going to be more shallow through the golf swing.
Yeah, you notice that, everyone, how shallow that is, right? There's no lift with the wrists or pickup with the golf club. It's a swingy takeaway. That's super important as well. Gets you shallow into the golf ball in most cases.
Agreed. And then I'm also going to make sure that I have a nice balanced rotational golf swing. I think a lot of people struggle with trying to hit the 3-wood up in the air. So they'll tend to get too aggressive with the lower body and fall back with their chest. And that's what leads to bottoming out back here and potentially topping my 3-wood. So I want to make sure it's nice and rhythmic and it's rotational. And if I do those things, then it'll be easier to make sure I bottom out in the right spot, which is the secret to hitting this club properly.
Lots to digest there, golfers. Don't stand too far away. Don't stand too wide. Get the ball slightly forward. That long, swingy takeaway and rhythm, rhythm, rhythm. Let's see it, Jake. Let's finish off with a nice, clean hit.
So I'm a little wider than my shoulders. I'm nice and relaxed, shallow, and rhythmic.
And there we go, 11 or 12 degree launch angle. Get the right club for you. Hit the club. Let the club do the work. Hit the club with patience, and you'll have more success.
All right, awesome. great to have Kevin and Jake back doing tips. The father-son duo is rocking it. And we're going to have some great tips with Kevin and Jake throughout the summer. To check out more of the tips, all of Kevin's tips that you'll see on this podcast and hear on this podcast, you can find a link to the tip that you just heard about on flagstick.com under the Kevin Haim instruction spot, or you can just jump right over to kevinhaim.com, click on his YouTube link, and I'm sure that there will be more than plenty of tips for you to enjoy over there. So get on it, check it out. There you go. All right. Jumping right into our back nine.
We're jumping a lot today.
I'm jumping. Well, maybe walking. Let's saunter.
Okay.
We're going to saunter over to the back nine to 10th tee. Saunter. The back nine presented by Greensmere Golf and Country Club. Save 40% on all daily green fee rates with FlexPass, which includes 6-day advance booking for only $425 plus tax. Visit greensmere.com for more information on that and to pick up your FlexPass. Okay. Scott.
Yes.
Let's talk about the Canadian Open, because here's the thing.
Did it happen?
Yes, it did. So we come out of the whole COVID thing where it knocked the Canadian Open out 2 years in a row. Then last year we have a Canadian Open, and it is
awesome. Killer.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Between it and the CP Women's Open, crazy.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I'm referring to CP Women's Open and not the new name of it, because I don't think I can handle it.
KC Women's Open.
Okay. There you go. But the RBC Canadian Open happened last year, and it was nuts.
Yeah.
This year,
the ending was nuts.
Spectacular tournament to watch from start to finish.
Yeah.
Especially the ending, which was crazy.
Yeah.
But Unfortunately, a little bit
overshadowed
a little bit between wildfires that threatened to cause issues with even having it, or spectators being on site. And of course the big announcement that took place before it even happened about DP World Tour, PGA Tour, and PIF. And then let's say PIF, not Live Golf.
PIF.
Live is just part of PIF. So PIF. And now there's a whole bunch of crap going on with that. And, now I guess the Department of Justice is involved in the U.S. There's some antitrust stuff. It's like, God, it's nuts. Caught all the players off guard. We'd like to think that the top guys knew, but they didn't. Like Rory he's the spokesperson for the players, on behalf of the players, for the PGA Tour. He's the guy, and he didn't know anything about this.
Yeah, well, he knew the day before, that was it. But whatever the case, it overshadowed it. Obviously, it drew a lot of the attention early in the week, which was unfortunate. I think we talked about that. Just the fact that the headlines and the media space that could be going towards the RBC Canadian Open was obviously sucked up by this discussion of this potential alliance. We'll say potential because obviously it hasn't been approved yet.
Right. Exactly.
And as a result of it, it was good. A bunch of the players were basically said, hey, let's focus on the Canadian Open. Shane Lowry was obviously, that way, and things like that. I will say it probably started off a little slow at Oakdale. We haven't got spectator numbers yet, but I certainly don't expect it's going to be the 130,000 that they had at St. George's.
No.
And there was issues with traffic, shuttles. I mean, even players that somehow couldn't get to almost missed their tee times. Roger Sloan earlier in the week, but saved obviously by the big story with Nick Taylor, and that'll probably be the lasting impression, obviously, of this tournament for sure.
Yes, no, there's no question about it. It is our national championship. We do get excited for it every year, but and I'm not saying that a Canadian has to win it, because even when Rory was winning it, Rory is kind of like an adopted Canadian. I'd say
well, we've never had a Canadian win in our lifetime. So but we've been excited about Canadian Opens before.
Well, exactly. So we were happy when Greg Norman was in playing in the Canadian Open, and Tiger playing the Canadian Open, and when Tiger won.
2000,
in 2000, with that great shot that was an accident. you know, we do get excited about our national championship, but when a Canadian's in the hunt, I mean, man, when Mike Weir and Vijay Singh went to the playoff and Vijay makes a putt and he's so apologetic about it because he knows how much it meant to Mike Weir, but this time, you know,
it worked out.
It worked out, and you know,
and a great guy too to have.
Yes,
I mean, I you know, I'll say this before anything. You know, it's wonderful that a Canadian won. Obviously, you would take it whether it's any of the 8 Canadians that are playing on the PGA Tour of winning this and being that first, you know, Canadian to win since 1954. But Nick Taylor is just a good dude. You know, I've spent a fair bit of time with him over the years through different manufacturer stuff. Last year when I was caddying at the Canadian Open Pro-Am, you know, Hayden got to play with him. Hayden Underhill, who I was caddying for, played 9 holes with Nick. Part of that was prearranged because Nick was actually one of the first players that reached out about funding and sending money to support Dayton Price and Hayden Underhill, and you know, it's when you look at the GoFundMe and it's Nicholas Taylor, you know, it wasn't like he was doing it for anything other than the fact of there for support. So Mackenzie Hughes was great there as well. But again, these are good guys, good people, good humans, which makes it even a better story. And to see him do that. Obviously, Tommy Fleetwood, you know, crushed in trying to win his first PGA Tour event, but you know, he was just as excited for Nick too. He knew how much it meant.
Yeah.
And to do it in a playoff with a 72-foot 6-inch putt, as my dad will remind me when I tried to tell him it was a 72-foot putt, and he's like 72 feet 6 inches, son.
Well, yeah, it's the extra 6 inches is the difference between in and out, right? So,
yeah, but yeah, it was pretty emotional watch. I mean, it would have been nice to be there. Can't be there.
Yeah.
Every year, unfortunately. You know, we had Grant Fraser there covering all week, and he was sending us some great photos, which was fantastic. But you know, just watching it, I mean, what were your thoughts when you were watching it?
Oh, I was excited. I mean, you know, they're obviously you're always waiting for something to happen because you know that this is a historic possibility. And you know, as much as I love Tommy Fleetwood, I mean, I think the guy's awesome. But I've never rooted against somebody. So it's like I did as he's coming down, and he, you know, he does what he does on 17, and it's like, okay, come on, you know, you need to stop, you know, and then blowing it into the stands, and you're like, okay, here it comes. This is the bogey. No, this isn't the bogey, and then in the playoff for it to just keep going on, and the both of them just matching, no matter what mistake was made. Either the other one made a mistake on top of that guy's mistake. Sooner or later, someone's going to do something spectacular. Either going to stuff it in there, you know, an inch, going to chip it in, going to hole it out. Like something's going to happen here. And then that happened. And you know, I'm like everybody else, I'm sure, looking at a 72-foot 6-inch putt.
Oh yeah.
And thinking not a chance. Like he'd be hard pressed to get this inside 6 feet.
Oh, especially knowing what that green is like and how it goes up. And I mean,
and then to bomb it, it's like, you know, and you see his reaction is like, if that were a 4-foot putt that he rolled in, the excitement of that putt would have been greater. I think the reaction to him making the putt was utter shock. I think that it went in, and then all of a sudden it's like it happens. You start to react to it, then you realize what just happened, and that, you know, exuberance comes out, and obviously, you know, the security guard tackle on Hadwin was outstanding. I'm glad that Hadwin wasn't hurt. But you know, because it makes it a funnier story knowing that all he did was get tackled with a bottle of champagne in his hand on the 18th green.
It was just too bad all the American channels and everything were picking up on the tackle and not the win as much as possible.
But isn't that's
typical?
Typical. It's like, well, let's look for the negative. Let's look for the negative story, not the positive story.
Well, it's the more spectacular thing, right? It's the more clickbaity thing more than anything. But you know, it was neat because, you know, I ended up obviously staying up late that night, you know, writing a story and, you know, processing images and stuff coming in from Grant, and it was just endless. I think everything took longer that night because the texts coming in from people and the DMs, and I mean, I think I don't know, I haven't even looked at the analytics of some of the stuff that day, but I mean, I think we we gathered probably an extra 150 Twitter followers that day alone, just because we were pumping out photos and things. But just the way people were so excited about it. I mean, that was neat to see, whether they were, a diehard golfer, somebody who cared about history, somebody that was just new to the game. Even they knew, how important that was.
Yeah.
And then I think a lot of the other media people too were just excited not to have to write the last Canadian to win the Canadian Open since 1954. We don't have to write that anymore.
Nope.
So, which is amazing. So he becomes the 6th Canadian overall. I had to correct someone. They thought it was the 3rd Canadian to win the Canadian Open. He joins George Cumming, Albert Murray, Charles Murray, Carl Keffer, who obviously was a longtime pro at Royal Ottawa, won in 1909, 1914, Pat Fletcher in 54, and now Nick Taylor. So 100 and, all that years of history, the 112th playing of the RBC Canadian Open.
6 winners.
6 winners. So how cool is that if you're Nick Taylor? Obviously, he's been a PGA Tour winner. The money is great, but having that title,
that's history.
That's history. You're right. That makes you somewhat.
It's a good chunk of change though, too. 1.6 million, I think, was it?
Yeah, he's at himself. He's just under 6 million this year alone. So
last year it was about 900, and it was under $1 million for winning, 980,000 or something like that.
No, it was up over that. It was a 9 million per purse or whatever. So
no, I mean the first place.
No, it was more.
I thought it was under $1 million for winning.
But I mean, this is a guy who was playing, Upper Canada in 2013 at the Great Waterway Classic with nobody watching. With nobody watching.
We were watching.
I was watching. I was there.
We watched it.
Yeah, but it's cool to see, and what's neat too is the fever. I think I mentioned in the notes. There's at Ledgeview where he and Adam Hadwin play from in Abbotsford, where they grew up playing golf. They were having putting contests for 72 feet. Barry Forth at Coketown Woods was having a 72, I think it was $72.60 for a green fee and a cart celebration. Like, it's just, people were just getting into it and trying it out. And they had a putting contest down at the US Open as well. A bunch of the Canadians were doing it. And I think it was only a 60-footer, and Nick said he couldn't get excited over putting a 60-footer. He needs
hilarious.
More than that. So that's pretty neat to see.
Cool. All right. Well, that's a wrap on the RBC Canadian Open for this year, because now we're into we've switched from Canada to the US, and this week, obviously, as we're doing this podcast, the US Open is on to day 2.
Yeah. How much US Open do you watch? I mean, for me, I can, obviously, when we used to do print publication, it used to come out this weekend. So I wasn't used to seeing it. And then Father's Day and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But, is there a particular reason why you're watching this one, or are you watching this one? What's the case?
No, I mean, I will watch some of it. Thursday.
It's probably easier that it's West Coast, right?
Yeah. I'll watch some of it Thursday, Friday. Yeah. And then I'll watch a little bit more of it on Saturday, and then I'll probably watch the majority of the last bunch of groups on Sunday from start to finish. For me, the U.S. Open, I don't know. It's less and less. I'll be honest with you. It's less and less because I find that, like, okay, it was a perfect example. I don't know what you attribute it to, but U.S. Opens to me in the past have always been about.
I mean, I know exactly
the high scores. The extremely difficult playing conditions. Really. The grind of 72 holes of U.S. Open golf that just took its toll on players, the thick, like all that. Yeah. I don't find that. I mean, yes, 62. I mean, whatever. I mean, the conditions were soft.
Super wide fairways of this golf course, though, too. It's not a case. It's not like some of the other golf courses. They can't make it super, super narrow, and I don't think the members really cared. Like, this is a weird US Open. Like, there's no grandstands over by 18 because the members didn't want it for the clubhouse. They have a lot of corporate ticket sales. They're very weak as far as the regular daily sales. There's very limited as far as what's available. I think the USGA just wanted to get back to Los Angeles for the first time in 75 years, more than anything.
When's the last time they had it at this particular golf course, or did they?
Never. They've
Okay.
never. It was Riviera was the last time it was
Okay,
in
yeah. I
the
thought it
Los
was
Angeles
Riviera.
area, so 1948. Really, I mean, it's very
I love the
interesting.
golf course.
I
mean,
do too.
I've
It's a
from
cool
what I've
golf
seen of
course.
it, and I think part of my tune into the U.S. Open
To
most
see the
years
course.
is to see. I want to see
Yeah.
what the course is like. I love the
Yeah.
bunkering,
Me
the
too.
shaping, the bunkering, the really rough edge stuff. Reminds me a lot of the course that we played at Cuskawilla.
Oh yeah,
With
yeah.
the Crenshaw
Core
design.
Crenshaw.
Yeah, and
Down.
that really rough edge, jagged edge, long grass bunkering. A little bit
Yeah.
different, but similar
Yeah.
idea. I love the bunkering. I love the shaping. I love the way the green complexes are perched up there.
It's weird too.
I just don't want to see. I don't want to see someone win a U.S. Open at 24 under par, and maybe that won't happen if it dries out and gets firm. Maybe some of those, because early on in the week when they were doing some videoing of the sloping on the greens and stuff like that, things were a little firmer, and their balls were rolling like forever.
Yeah, it wasn't the case yesterday.
No, so but that happened. I think one year, the year Rory won and ran away from the field. Congressional.
Super
and
wet.
It was raining the whole week, and he was throwing. But everybody had the same conditions. He was just throwing darts at everything, and you can't control that. It's like going and watching an Open Championship at Carnoustie. Yeah, an Open Championship at Carnoustie should be like it is carnage. It should be destruction. Yeah. But if the conditions don't get windy and dry, and all it is calm, sunny, and soft,
nothing you can do about it.
Then the golf course is going to get eaten alive. And that's the case with any golf course. Any golf course you play that's designed to play hard and fast, if it's soft and calm and beautiful out, these guys are too good. The equipment they're using is too good. The players are too good. They're going to eat these courses up. So
they get a lot of wide fairways, so it's not hurting him that way. Again, I think it's interesting as far as the architecture. It's really weird because I was down by this golf course a couple years ago, but actually played the Muni that's right next to it.
Right.
Which is I tweeted about it yesterday. It's on the other side of what used to be the former Aaron Spelling mansion, which is 123 rooms. So it's this little thing called in Holmby Park. It's called the Arm & Hammer Golf Course. This little pony course. It's down 14 holes. It's $3 to play it. $3. And it's literally next to LA Country Club. And what's kind of funny was in February when I was at that Adidas event, I was talking to Colin Morikawa about the US Open, and he mentioned, I didn't see where he ended up yesterday, but obviously he's struggling with some back issues. But he said he was so excited to be back in LA. He's a Southern California guy, but he's also really stoked about Muni golf, and he grew up playing a lot of those golf courses, not really country clubbish sort of thing. He grew up, he played at a private course that was 10 holes, but the cool part was we were talking about this little pony course next door, and he said he'd love to play that sometime, and if people want to see what this is like, I said yesterday the USGA might be using the strategy of the agronomy from Holmby Park, whereas if you go down there, the greens are covered in like sticks and trees and stuff like that. Or maybe if they do that, the scoring average will go up a little bit. But
it's unfortunate for a U.S. Open because it is supposed to be, the U.S. Open is generally set up. The courses are set up, and the tournament is supposed to be the ultimate
difficult
Ironman type golf tournament. It's supposed to be difficult. The scoring's supposed to be really higher. Many guys over par, but this week nobody shot over 80 yesterday. I think there was a whack of guys, like 60 players were.
It was the lowest scoring average by almost a stroke since Baltus roll, I think, in 93. I think that was the case. But
that's a beast of a golf course too.
But these are still the best players in the world. You've got some great players there, and if they have the opportunities, they're going to take advantage of it.
Well, that's it.
We still have an opportunity to see those best players in the world, which is great to see. And and in the end, the lowest score wins. Exactly.
Now, I want to save any major discussion we have, and we will have some discussion about the PGA Tour, DP World Tour, PIF stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know enough about it at this point.
Yeah, it's
so
just
does.
it's very much in its infancy. I know there was, some comments made, and there's a lot of social media stuff, and you can get into the social media stuff, people this and that, and hypocrisy and things like that. And you're going to have to keep an open mind a little bit, I think, when you're thinking about it, but you're going to have to wait and see what exactly it all means, because right off the bat, you see people saying that Live Golf is merged with the PGA Tour, and that is not what happened.
No,
there isn't even any knowledge that once this is all done and said and done, that Live Golf will even exist anymore.
Exactly.
Live Golf might be gone, and it might be a completely different type of team thing under the umbrella of the PGA Tour or run by the PGA Tour. So we don't know. There's just a lot of speculation about it. I think that one of the comments that Rory made kind of resonated a little bit with me. I don't necessarily agree fully with it, but
I know exactly
his comment was,
you're going to say.
Basically he said, whether you like it or not, PIF are going to keep spending money on golf. Whether this happened or not, they're going to keep, because they got boatloads of it to spend. They're going to keep spending money on golf. At least now, the PGA Tour, for the most part, controls how that money is going to be spent, or at least the speculation is that is the way it's going to be. So that's a positive thing.
Sure.
If that is the case, where that PGA Tour entity, that corporation that's going to be partnered up with the PGA Tour's separate corporation, that will might run what is now Live Golf, or what becomes something else. That is not necessarily a negative. There are still going to be people that say, regardless of whether they do or they don't, the money is still coming from a place of negativity, and that may be true. However, my take on this from the beginning, when it first came out, was that the bottom line was that no matter how many court cases were put forward, the money that PIF could throw at the court cases was far beyond anything that the PGA Tour could ever come up with, which means that this court case after court case after court case could be opened up, and PIF could lose them all. But it wouldn't be relevant. In the meantime, they would be draining every bit of money the PGA Tour has.
Which apparently is part of what the situation's happened. The tour is basically, there's a lot of money that's had to be spent on legal fees.
Exactly. So, they're probably going to, like I said, PIF is probably going to lose all those court battles, but they're going to win the battle.
Right.
Because they'll outspend them. And then what's left? And then what happens to the PGA Tour? So that's where you get into what Rory said, where it's like, okay, well, at least now we've stopped that. And we can move forward. Yeah,
because that's one thing that we do know. The litigation is over. That's part of that, as far as ending all that litigation, at least under this agreement. Well, again, we'll see what gets ratified and how this thing plays out or whatever. But yeah, you're right. That certainly would hamper the PGA Tour. PGA Tour has obviously had to dig into reserves to do a lot of different things. This is money they're bleeding, and I mean, this is a high dollar operation as it is. It's not like the PGA Tour is some little thing in the backwoods here.
No,
it's a big operation, but even they can't compete with that. And as a result of it, it could do irreparable damage to their tour, to the point of, like you said, if they outspend them and they just are wasting money in legal fees, that's money that can be going for a lot of other things, and not just in the pockets of the players.
No, the charities,
that's the charities, it's everything else that goes in to support the tours at all the different levels, right down to PGA Tour Canada. So it's good that that's gone. How it plays out, who knows? In the end, there's nothing we can do about it.
No.
And also on the other side of it, it still doesn't change what happens at the local golf clubs. I mean, I'd like for people to stop talking about this changing golf.
None of this affects us. Like, it really doesn't affect us. If there's no PGA Tour, if there's no PGA Tour golf and no DP World Tour, golf's still around. We still go and play our local course. We're still members at our club. I'm not playing golf because there's a PGA Tour. That's my entertainment in golf, watching people that are way better at the game than I am do well at the game. But at the end of the day, if there was no PGA Tour, I'm still gonna golf. It's just like if there's no NHL, I'm still gonna play hockey. My kids are still gonna play hockey and baseball and stuff. Those things are great and things to aspire to, and a place for the best in the world to hone their craft and
there's
make some money.
And there's more and more golfers that are emerging, new golfers, especially ones that have came in during COVID or whatever. They don't give a flying about professional golf. You know what I mean?
What?
I talk to them all the time. I mean, I had a guy the other day. I was like, "Hey, did you watch the Canadian Open the week?" No. He's a new golfer. His golf is going to the golf course, playing with his friends, playing with his buddies. That's golf to them.
Yeah.
So, everybody
that is golf.
Everybody on social media, thinking that, this is the pinnacle of the game. Yeah, it's the pinnacle of professional game, but it's not the game. It's a small part of the game. So don't sit there and characterize it, just like we're talking about it being a merger. Don't characterize it as being, this is good for golf, or this is the best thing for golf. It's the best thing, when like, Monahan or whatever, or anybody else commenting and saying that this is about men's professional golf. This is not the game of golf.
It's one of the cliches,
totally different animals.
One of the cliches that drives me absolutely nuts, and we hear it in more places, even at the local level, where organizations claim to be doing many things to grow the game. Quote, grow the game of golf. Growing the game of golf does not mean is not, us having an event at Smuggler's Glen or at Equinel or Brockville Country Club. Running an event there is not growing the game of golf.
No,
that's providing opportunity,
correct,
for golfers to play in competitive atmospheres in, under certain circumstances, providing an experience. But that it's not growing the game.
No.
Growing the game is exactly that. It's getting new people to play the game and getting those currently playing to continue to play the game. You can't, if you take 100,000 people and you just get them to keep playing golf the same amount that they've always played, that's not growing anything. If you plant a seed in the ground and you water it and the seed doesn't grow, you're not growing anything. You see what I'm saying? Like, you're not growing anything. Put the seed in the ground and don't water it and don't put sunlight on it. It doesn't grow. Growing the game is actually doing something to encourage people to play, which gets more people playing and grows the game.
Bottom up.
The game
bottom
grew.
up, bottom up, not top down.
Exactly. The game grew when throughout the COVID era. The game grew. Most of us did absolutely nothing to grow the game. COVID grew the game. We didn't grow the game. Anybody that thinks they did something to grow the game during COVID is off their rocker.
Yeah.
COVID grew the game. A pandemic grew the game of golf for 2 years.
Yep.
What we do with it from this point forward is continuing to grow the game. If we lose half of the people that started playing golf during COVID, then we haven't done anything to keep them. Yeah. All we did, the pandemic's gone. Now they're not golfing anymore. Well, what went wrong? Well, we just took their money. Because that's all the place they had to spend it. We didn't do anything to keep them around.
Nope.
That's greed. That's not growing the game. I'm sorry. And some people will be pissed at me about that. Okay, Scotty Mac.
Oh, good, brother.
I think we'll end on that note. I like to end on a happy note, but I'm not going to. I'm going to end on I'm ending on a rant.
That's just the reality.
I just ended on a rant. Okay.
That's just the reality. Bees. That's just the reality of it more than anything. And I think people just don't look critically enough at how things happen. And when we say critically doesn't mean,
angry,
negative. It's just looking at things through
constructive.
Well, it's looking at it through where it's looking objectively of what's good, bad, or otherwise. And that's not a bad thing. It's when you ignore it and you don't look at things critically and you just pretend something is happening that's not, that's when we get in trouble.
Exactly.
So, we're not nitpicking for the sake of nitpicking. We're nitpicking for the sake of helping.
True that.
There we go.
True that. Okay.
All right,
we're done.
Go play golf.
I was just thinking I might try to go out and play like maybe 4 or 5 holes tonight. We'll see. Feeling pretty solid tonight. I know I'm not going to hit it anywhere, but we'll
grow your game.
I'm going to grow my game. Grow a new leg, and then I can grow my game.
All right, let's get to it.
All right, we're done. We're out of here. thank you to our sponsors this week, Metcalfe Golf Club, Greensmere Golf and Country Club, Kevin Hayne Golf School, jump back in there, and of course our presenting sponsor this week, TaylorMade with Stealth. They have pushed past the limits of titanium and introduced the world to the carbon wood age. How far are they willing to take it? Way past far into forgiveness, introducing the all-new Stealth 2 Plus, combining elements of speed and forgiveness to unlock forgiveness. Visit TaylorMadeGolf.ca to learn more. All right, everybody, we're out. Thank you. Hopefully you've enjoyed everything that you're hearing or watching. Be sure to follow us across social media networks on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. Subscribe to Spotify, Audible, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. Do not forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like us, click the notification bell, make sure you never miss a single. Yes, I'm gonna say. Click the notification bell, make sure you never miss a single episode. And contest, like last episode, we said TaylorMade goodies. You're gonna like them.
Subscribe.
Cap, balls, playing cards, head cover, towel, all that good stuff. You got to subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you got to comment down below. I want free TaylorMade stuff. I think that's what I said. Was it? I want free TaylorMade stuff.
Just give us a comment.
Yeah, just comment.
Subscribe.
We're not going to be picky about it. If it's close, we'll do it. Yeah. All right.
All good.
Thanks again. As always, we appreciate you tuning in. Until next week, I am Jeff Botter.
I'm Scott McLeod.
Always remember, go for the stick.